In this lesson, we'll learn how to distress and color correct the denim pants for our character. Okay, great. So this is kind of where we're at this point. The pants are almost done, but you know, there's something that's really kind of irking me about these pants, and they feel too new, with the exception of these pockets. The pockets feel kind of old. Well, old denim is kind of the style right now, and new denim like this is really kind of hard to find if you're out walking in public. So let's go ahead and distress these pants up. But you know, one thing that also is kind of bothering me about these is they also feel very, very saturated and really kind of a little bit light. So we're going to do some color correction to these as well. Now, let's go ahead and hold down the S key. I still have my shirt shells selected. We'll come over here and select these 3 shells that make up the pants. Again, I'm in face mode using Smart Selection. So with those selected, we'll go ahead and right-click Visibility and hide the unselected. And we can go ahead and let's go ahead and hit the 6 key to bring them to the front view here. Now, to color correct these, we're going to have to run through a couple of tricks because we've got the denim details actually split onto 2 different layers here. So basically, we could create an adjustment layer above both of those, but it's also going to correct the shirt layers below it. So what I want to do here is I'm going to go ahead and create a group, and we're going to call this group Pants. And we'll go ahead and select both of those 2 denim layers and drag them into pants, just like so. All right, fantastic. So at this point, what we can do is we can apply an adjustment stack to this layer group. The adjustment stack button is right down here. I'm going to go ahead and simply tap on that. And you can see that Mari wants us to start by telling it what kind of adjustment we're going to make. So the first thing I'd like to do is let's go ahead and do maybe a levels adjustment here. So we'll go ahead and do that, and you'll notice this little icon appears next to the layer group. This is the adjustment stack. So we can tap on that, and you can see there's a layer stack right inside this adjustment layer. So I'll go and pin that so we can work with that here for a moment. And let's go ahead and hit the home key just so we can kind of drag the pants out to the side and see what we're doing here. So let me go ahead and select the levels adjustment that appears in there. And I'll just resize this palette just a little bit so we can kind of look at some of the settings for that. So now with the levels adjustment, we can do a few things here. So the things that I would personally like to do is limit how bright the whites can be, because the whites feel very, very bright here. So we can do that right here under the output levels. Let me go ahead and tap the white out, and you can see here we can start to limit how bright those whites can be. Now, part of the reason these whites are bright is because of the lighting those photos were taken with. So that kind of lighting is basically really illuminating a lot of these brighter areas in the pants. So now when we apply lighting in whatever game engine we're going to pull these textures into, it's basically going to be lighting these pants twice. So I'm going to take these whites and I'm going to really kind of dial them down a little bit. We're going to go to about 0.85 or something like that. Let's see what that looks like. So if we hit this R button, we can kind of go back and forth. And I think 0.85 is going to be about right. So we'll go ahead and set it right about there. Now, another thing we could do is we could start to adjust the midpoint here. So if we want more whites in our values, we can move it to the left. If we want more blacks in the values, we can start to move it to the right a little bit. So you can see here, I'm starting to kind of dial that up to the right. So we've basically darkened the pants quite a bit here. Now, one thing that is kind of a side effect of that is the pants were already pretty saturated, and now they feel really, really saturated. So let's go ahead and create another adjustment layer here. I'm going to tap this button right here. And I'm going to go ahead and jump in here with, let's do a saturation adjustment. I apologize, that's out of the recording area, but there's the saturation adjustment. So with the saturation adjustment, we can come in here and start to dial this down. You know, we can obviously dial that up and they get really, really saturated, but we don't want to do that. We want to come down a little bit here. So I'm going to dial that down about, let's just go with 0.75. That's a nice round number here. And that feels a lot better here to me. Now, those denim jeans are more of a believable color. And honestly, if we revealed all of the geometry here, let's go ahead and just do a show all. that to me feels better in terms of color correction. So now I'm going to go ahead and, again, hide the unselected here because we're not done. We're going to come in here and begin to paint some distressing on those. But just for the time being, let me unpin that guy and close him out. If we shift click on that, we can hide that adjustment. And you can see here's the before and here's the after. So we made a pretty drastic change to the color of those pants, just simply using that adjustment stack. Now, let's come into the pants layer here. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new paint layer. So now one thing that we pointed out earlier on the pockets is that there's some distressing. You can see kind of those white areas there. Those are created from a surface rubbing against the denim and basically rubbing away the pigment. So this distressed coloration is pretty popular, and we need to kind of do that everywhere so the pockets don't stick out as much. Now we can do that here. Let me hold the K key and bring up my shelf pop-up. And remember the project that we imported things into? There's a couple brushes in here we might experiment with. We'll go ahead and go with this one here first. And I'll hit the home key to bring back my palette so we can kind of preview that stroke here. This is what the stroke currently looks like. Now for this, I may come in and adjust the alpha based on pressure as well, so I can paint in really lightly and we can get kind of a transparent stroke there. And we may actually need to come in and bump the opacity down on this as well. But for right now, let's just come in and work this. We'll come in and choose a color. Let's go ahead and go with something that's relatively white. We'll go with something about like that. And we'll go ahead and let's go ahead and turn on our edge masking. We'll come over to our projection palette, turn on edge masking here. Now, one thing you can do is preview this mask. You can do that by checking this box or by hitting the comma key on your keyboard. So this is what my edge masking currently looks like. I don't know if that's going to be quite enough to prevent stretching. So we'll come in here and we're going to adjust the fall off end and start. You can see here we can start to kind of dial this up, bringing a little bit more of that red highlighting around the edge of the leg. Sort of like that. Basically, the closer these are together, the less fall off there's going to be. So we definitely want there to be some fall off because we don't want to create a line in this texture. So let's go with something like that for right now. And I'm going to hit the comma key to hide that. So now I'm just going to come in and start to brush this in. One thing that will be helpful for you is to set the eraser to the same brush. So if I hit the E key on my keyboard, we'll come over and just choose the same brush. Configure it the exact same way here. And now I can come in and I can paint and then I can erase using the exact same brush here. So basically areas that we want to paint, let me just bake that down, are areas where you would think wear would appear on the pants. So around the knees is a really common place to see this type of wear. So maybe we hit the knees with a little bit of extra. Come in and just kind of paint a little bit away with the eraser. Just kind of going back and forth using the brush or the paint tool and then the eraser if we want to kind of peel some of that away. Now, cycling into the unlit view is going to be helpful as well here because you can see kind of how even the texture is being applied. So let me come in here and just apply a little bit in here. Now, you see I went a little heavy there. Let me just clear my buffer with a Control-Shift-C. And I'm going to come in and just kind of feather in some more of this. Maybe with a little bit bigger brush tip. This is completely up to you. I mean, I've seen all kinds of pattern in this bleaching of the pants. You can come in here and really put this on as heavy as you want, or you can come in and just kind of lightly feather that in. So really up to you, but again, kind of the baseline for this is going to be this area right up here, this pocket. So this is kind of the area that we want to keep in mind. Now you can see the amount of that I've painted in right now is pretty intense. I may not want to go quite that heavy with it. So if we need to, we can always cycle over here to the clear painting mode. And using that painting mode, we can start to kind of feather some of this back a little bit. That feels a little more natural. So now, definitely want to remember to switch back to normal when we're ready to paint pixels again. But again, this is just an area where I would probably use some photographic reference to kind of see how this bleaching of the denim occurs. That's what I'm going to go ahead and do. So what I would do is go ahead and finish painting in this bleaching of the pants. So look at areas that receive more of it. For example, the back side here, where maybe the person sits down and the contact is made with that denim. Again, use some reference. Come in and paint these areas in. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing in between lessons, but this is really going to wrap up the pants portion of this course. So until we actually come in and begin to paint a dirt pass later on. So that is later in this course, though. So in the next lesson, we're going to move forward. We're going to begin working on our character's shoes.